Hey, everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, September the 19th. This is a week you need to pay attention, be very aware, because Mercury is still retrograde until October the 2nd. The Mercury retrograde could trigger misunderstandings, miscommunications, mistakes, losing things. That's the general mantra with Mercury in retrograde. But even more so, next Sunday, the 25th, is the new moon. And the week prior to a new moon is a week of wrapping up the previous new moon, a time of winding down, bringing closure. Some of you, it just might be, you've already figured out the last cycle, and now you're just kind of sitting there waiting for some new energy to come in. So this is a really important week for reflection, for preparation, but not for launching a new job, a new project, making promises, because of those two major factors. Now, on Monday, the 19th, the moon, which sets the public response, is in Cancer. Cancer is very reflective and nurturing and caring and family-oriented. By mid-afternoon, Pacific Daylight Time, the moon will be in harmony with pleasure-seeking Venus and kind of exciting, unpredictable Uranus. So it would make a great afternoon, Pacific time, for socializing, connecting with friends, maybe a little romance, especially as Venus, the planet of love and desire and romance, will be in harmony with Uranus. Happens twice a year approximately, and that's going to be strong by mid-afternoon Pacific Daylight Time into the first part of Tuesday. So with the moon favorable with Venus and Venus favorable with Uranus, this could also be not only just waking a lot of socializing, there could be some making new friends, triggering some infatuations. Venus is also the planet of creativity. And so for you artists, or if you're inspired to go to an art gallery, do something creative, or just being swept away by music and art. Now, on Tuesday, as the moon continues in Cancer, it's going to go void of course from 8:57 a.m. to 1:38 p.m. Pacific time. Every week I mention when the moon's void of course, it's not making any aspects to other planets until it changes signs. So the energy is flat, and so it's unproductive. It's best to just stay with the routine, keep doing what you've been doing, but don't introduce anything new. With the Mercury in retrograde, you're in the last lunar cycle. Now, the moon will go into Leo at that 1:38 p.m. Pacific time. You're going to notice an overall big change with the emotional tone, with the public tone, because Cancer tends to be more private, reflective, more domestic, hanging with family. When it goes into Leo, Leo wants to party, wants to vacation. So it's much more extroverted. Cancer energy can be a bit introverted. And then as we go through Wednesday, the moon in outgoing Leo is not making any aspects. There aren't any other planetary events. So it's, in a way, it's like a good day because there's no unexpected surprises. And with the moon in Leo, you can really be enjoying yourself with entertainment, with parties, with romance. On Thursday, the moon in Leo goes void of course from 4:07 a.m. Pacific time up through after Friday until 12:54 a.m. Pacific time on Friday. So the moon is going to be void, of course, for most of you around the world, the entire day. But as we're in the Mercury in retrograde and it's that last week before the new moon, that could also be a very favorable day for reflection, for introspection. And the sun is leaving Virgo, going into Libra around 6:04 p.m. Pacific time. That is also the change of the seasons. It is north of the equator. It is the autumn equinox. Equinox means equal daylight, equal darkness. And that sun going into Libra is when the sunlight is slowly starting to get north of the equator. It's starting to get less light. So it's this slow pulling inward, but that's what the winter in the northern latitudes is about. Staying at home, pulling inward. Now, so the moon's void, of course, all day. On Friday, the moon is in Virgo from that 12:54 a.m. Pacific time. But the new moon will be in Libra. Virgo is the sign prior to Libra. So not only is it the last week when the moon is in the sign prior to the new moon, it's the shadow sector, a time where you could be on the negative or frustrating, feeling stuck. Nothing seems to be working. The whole point of that shadow phase is to look deep within with meditation and introspection. By evening, Pacific time, Friday evening, Pacific time, pleasure-seeking Venus will be opposite Neptune. Opposite is your interactions with others. Now, when it comes to relationships, there might be more prone to be idealizing and then putting somebody on a pedestal and then becoming disappointed. It's really good for music and entertainment, being swept away by fantasy. But if a relationship is triggering you to be swept away by fantasy, you might be disappointed. And with the moon in the shadow sector, it might be happening to trigger you to do some soul searching. So Saturday, that Venus-Neptune will continue to around noon Pacific time, which is also when the moon will be in harmony with exciting, innovative Uranus. That moon Uranus around noon on Saturday Pacific time, getting out of your rut, trying new things. Good for breaking any kind of stuck patterns. By late evening Pacific time, 10 o'clock till midnight, the moon will be opposite Neptune. And since it's a Saturday night, that Neptune can be escapist. And with that emotional moon, in general, you have to be careful of not drinking too much alcohol or any type of escapist situation. And that might be just feeling emotional and you just want to disappear. But it can be really great for fantasy, music, dancing, entertainment. But when it comes to one-on-one relationships, it continues the potential for being not being disappointed. On Sunday, now we have the new moon in Libra, and it's going to be triggered by expansive Jupiter. The new moon is setting a new cycle for the next month. Libra is seeking harmony, relationships, win-win situations. The Jupiter is bringing a lot of optimism and promise, but the new moon is prior to the Mercury going direct on the 2nd. So it's not time yet with all your optimism and planning and expectations, your upbeat expectations with the Jupiter influence. You want to wait until after October the 2nd. And the more time you can give after October the 2nd, the better it is, because Mercury, it is going forwards again, but it's going forwards very slowly. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.